Hello, my friend, and welcome to TFU News and Views. I am your host, Anthony Brucali, owner, operator, webmaster, and mastermind behind the website TFU.INFO, as well as this podcast and Transformers University. And today, I want to tell you something I've been holding on to for about a year and a half, something I've been wanting to tell people for about a year and a half, and I haven't been able to do it. But if you're listening to this as this goes up, then you're going to be the first in on this news. However, if you're listening to this about an hour after it goes up, you might be a little late to the party. All I want to say is, if you're watching The Toys That Made Us on Netflix, Season 2 debuted today, May 25th, 2018. Make sure you click through and watch the credits. In the credits, you may notice a familiar name, namely mine, as a consulting producer on the show. Now, I am recording this before the final version of the show has been released, but I was not allowed to say anything until either the show got released or June 1st, 2018. So we're within a week of my non-disclosure agreement expiring, and it's been a fun ride. It hasn't been a lot of work for me. There was a lot of phone calls and a lot of emails back and forth early on. And I can get into this, my role in the show in a future episode, probably later this week. With any luck, I'll have a little time to record that. But I did want to announce the news, and I wanted to explain how it came about, because it's kind of cool, and I want you to maybe take a page from it, because it was something that was important to me to do. So I went and looked back and at my first contact with the folks at The Toys That Made Us, and it really all came about from me writing an email. So that show got announced. There was a press release. I was already working on what would be the sister podcast to this, Transformers University. I'd already kind of started planting the seeds in my own head, and just on my drive to and from work, kind of fleshing out ideas. And I saw this press release, and I said, you know what, I gotta reach out to them, because I am someone who used to work in television. I still work in video production, and I know a lot about Transformers. I'm from the future, know a lot about history, as some Transformers fans might know. And I felt like this is a good fit. This is, I am the right person for this project. Let me do something. So I opened up Facebook. I fired up Facebook Messenger. I had liked their page, and I shot them a message. In this message, I basically said, look, I am both a video producer and editor. I've won 3 Emmy Awards in my time working in television, and I am a Transformers nerd. And I would love to be a part of this show some way, somehow. And they reached back to me, and they said they needed basically what they called an expert. From there, a handful of phone calls happened between myself and Brian Volk-Weiss, the show's creator, and they offered me the role. And so some of you and some folks out there, some other Transformers fans may remember me in the last year and a half asking very weird questions to them and not being able to tell them why. This was why. So Chris McFeely, M. Cypher, Monzo, guys, thank you for your help in this. Maz, you too. Because I know I've reached out to all of you at some point and said, look, and Ben Yee as well. I said, look, I'm working on this thing. I can't tell you what it's about, but it's going to be good. So hopefully, if you haven't watched the episode yet, go over to your Netflix account and watch this episode. And I haven't watched it yet. Like I said, I'm recording this a couple days before the release, but I did see the first cut back in November. And the first cut, I had notes. I had things I thought could use a little tweaking here and there. But overall, the story was fantastic. And if you haven't watched any of the Toys That Made Us, do that. There is some great stuff there. Now, me working on this show was really the fire that I needed lit underneath me to actually do this podcast. And so after a little bit of back and forth with Brian and the team over there at the Toys That Made Us, they had asked me to develop kind of a document, a historical document for them. And fortunately, I had a bit of free time at work and could just focus on that for a little bit. And in about 8 hours, I put together a 9-page document that took them from 84 and pre-Transformers through most of the 85 line and the importance. And a lot of that work is what you're seeing now in Transformers University, and especially in those early episodes, the cultural significance stuff, the technology stuff, the rise of the VCR. That is all stuff I had built into this document. Now, I in the cut of the show I saw, not much of that stuff made it in, but if you're interested in that stuff, all the episodes of Transformers University are now online and available in iTunes and Google Play all the way back to episode 0. I highly recommend going back and listening to those, because there's a lot of great stuff there. And I put a lot of work into that, and they loved it. And that was really affirming to me that I knew this podcast could happen and that there would be an interest for something like this. And this goes back even further. If you're a podcast listener and you go back to Radio Free Cybertron number 387, which was the 15th anniversary show Brian put together, I kicked this idea around with Brian for a little bit and called it Transformers 101. And so the impetus for what became Transformers University really does begin there. And then this project, The Toys That Made Us, really supercharged my desire to do this. The only other thing that it existed as far as my work towards doing this project for you, my friend, is the one interview I did with Jim Shooter back in episode 2. That was one of the things I had done to plan for this, and I had actually mentioned that in my early conversation. So it was great to find out that the folks from The Toys That Made Us had actually done a lot of these interviews before even reaching out to me. They had a lot of this stuff in the can, so it was great for me to be able to help them find the important pieces along the way. So without going any further into detail of what my role was, I just really want you to go and watch the show, and I hope you enjoy it, and I hope they hit every part that I felt was important for them to hit in a way that really makes everyone who watches this happy. Brian had told me on the phone, we had kind of discussed what my role was, and my role was really to be nerd police. It was for me to make sure they got it right. So if you feel they didn't get it right, that's probably on me too. So if you feel that way, please let me know. Let me know what they missed, because I would love to make sure we get it covered in Transformers University. They only had an hour to play with. I have hundreds of hours to play with. So we can get to all of that stuff. And hopefully, if you're new to this show, thank you for coming along for the ride. Enjoy the ride. There's so much more story to be told that couldn't be done in that hour on Netflix. And I hope you come here and play in this sandbox with me and find something you enjoy out of this brand and this history that has arisen from the Transformers fandom and the Transformers fan community. And of course, if you really like this show, please subscribe on YouTube, youtube.com/TFU.INFO, or join us on Patreon, patreon.com/TFU.INFO. Those two sites are the best ways to help us out right now. You can also help us out with our Amazon link, TFU.INFO/Amazon. And of course, just use the site, TFU.INFO. One last thing, and this is really about chasing your dreams. Never stop chasing your dreams. I know it sounds cliche. I know it sounds kind of pie in the sky thing. Sky pie is delicious, number one. I'm going to say that. 2, when I say never stop chasing your dreams, there's always something you can do to push yourself further along. Everything good that has come to me as far as my personal life, my professional life, my career, my hobby, it's because I've gone out and gone after it. You can wait for it to come to you. It might not. It might, but it might not. Everything I've done creatively, whether it be this podcast, Transformers University, TFU.INFO, the website, my career in television, my career now as a video producer in the world of business. All of it came because I said, I want to go do that. And how do I do that? I'm going to do something about it. So go, do something about it. And I've seen it work for so many people, professionally and personally. And I implore you to do the same. If there's something you want to do, if there's a podcast you want to do, just do it. Record the damn thing. Go for it. Nothing comes from nothing. So do something. With that, I'm going to wrap this one up. Till next time, see ya.